And our Deputy Political Editor, Craig McCulloch, is with me live in the studio now. You've just been down at that press conference with Winston Peters. I mean, how would you describe his mood?
I think you can say that was vintage Winston Peters, behind the podium, addressing the camera, looking straight down the barrel and claiming two things simultaneously at once. Firstly, that this completely exonerates him. They're in the clear, him and the party. While at the same time, the SFO, the Serious Fraud Office, has completely and utterly abused its powers here, so much so that he's going to court.
So he is questioning the nature of the investigation that at the same time he says exonerated him. The foundations of that investigation, excuse the pun there.
Yeah, I mean, the Serious Fraud Office statement is pretty clear. It says no minister, no MP, no candidate, and no current party member has been charged. That is what Winston Peters is claiming as vindication here, as exoneration. It's worth pointing out nothing in there about previous party members or anyone else for that matter. The fact remains, two people have been charged here. Two people have been charged with obtaining by deception, two people related to the case, and that means vindication is pretty hard to declare. I mean, we cannot speculate as to who those people are because of the interim name suppression in place, but charges have been laid. This will go to the district court. It could yet be moved to the High Court. That's what happened with the legal case with Jamie Lee Ross, of course, and three other men. It's what often happens with these high-profile cases. So this story certainly does not end here.
In terms of his vindication, he's also raised concerns, his claim of vindication. He's raised concerns about the timing of this announcement with overseas voting and early voting. We're on the cusp of it, right? So people have to make their decision now. And he says in his press statement that he is concerned that people, voters, will be unable to make the distinction between New Zealand First, the foundation, and New Zealand First, the party. Is this saga having an effect on his polling popularity?
I think it is fair to say that Winston Peters is laying the groundwork here to question the validity of the election results. The New Zealand First is low on the polls, and they have been low on the polls for a long time. They have not once cracked that 5% threshold during the past term of government. The past few polls, though, have had them quite low, around 1% or 2%. He was asked specifically whether he will point to this on October 18 as a way of questioning that, and he would not go there today. But the allusions, you talked about them, they certainly point that way. References to James Comey, to Hillary Clinton, the United States. By the time that she was cleared, it was too late, he said, and he seems to be saying the same thing here. I guess we just have to wait and see, first of all, how voters vote on election day, and then how he responds the day after.
So in terms of a little bit of the backstory, obviously he is drawing a very clear line of distinction between the foundation and the party, but refresh our memories. Are the common characters here? What's the relationship between the two?
Yes, Mr. Peters again today stressing that the foundation is separate, completely separate from the party, not really wanting to go into any details about that, citing sub judice say. Winston Peters clearly very concerned about people making that link, stressing that it's up to the media to really point that out because he does not want the public to be confused about that. The New Zealand First Foundation, no link whatsoever supposedly to the New Zealand First Party, despite the name being rather similar. A lot of characters related there too. People connected to Mr. Peters, connected to the party. So yeah, there is definitely still questions there. It's not as clear-cut, although it is a completely different entity from the party. I guess there are going to be questions there from members of the public still, even if Mr. Peters doesn't want that to be the case.
Yeah, and I would point people to our long-form reporting. Guy Espen has done a lot on this, and there is a number of articles that people should bone up on if they're interested in the detail. Also pointing out that Winston Peters was at a meeting that established the foundation, so he was very present in the machinations and the formation of that foundation.
Right when it was being set up.
Yeah, right when it was being set up. Talk to us about this legal action then, because, you know, this is, well, he loves a good court case. So what is he saying he's doing here?
Yeah, Mr. Peters is seeking a declaration that the Serious Fraud Office abused its statutory powers, that it acted unreasonably and without justification. Now, he says his lawyers will issue proceedings in the High Court. That is how upset he is. He is going to the High Court. I asked him actually whether he would have wanted the Serious Fraud Office to have sat on this information, whether till after the election. Is that really what he was asking, what he would have expected them to do? And he wouldn't go there. He didn't say that, but he said that his problem with what the Serious Fraud Office has done here is it comes down to its treatment of his case, of this case. He says that they treated this case differently from others. The two cases he points to are the Serious Fraud Office inquiry right now into donations to the Labour Party, also an investigation into election expenses connected to the Auckland and Christchurch mayoralty races. He also claims that the Serious Fraud Office has more information relating to money which is going on into the National Party. That previous inquiry relating to Jamie Lee Ross, he says apparently they have not acted on it. So yes, Mr. Peters crying foul. Andrew Geddes said it before, the best defence is a form of attack. Mr. Peters back in High Court or on his way there anyway.
Did he say who his lawyer was going to be in that action?
No word on that yet.
Okay. And do we know what he's up to tomorrow? Because, in terms of, as you say, best form of defence is attack, no doubt this will not be over in terms of being a campaign tool for him.
Yes, I don't have in front of me his itinerary. I do not know whereabouts Winston Peters is going to be. He was out earlier this morning walking around Manukau Mall, talking to members of the public. His campaign to date has been rather lacklustre. He's struggled particularly with the restraints of COVID-19, the restrictions around that. He prefers to be in the town hall type environment, addressing large crowds, and has really struggled with not being able to do that and having to instead sort of
adapt his style.
Correct, and interacting with the public on a more one-on-one basis. So as we move down through those restriction levels, perhaps we'll see Mr. Peters return to form. It remains to be seen how this development today affects his campaign.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be hearing more from him. Thanks, Craig. That's Craig McCulloch, our Deputy Political Editor, who was at that press conference with Winston Peters.